everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex, and this is Big Baby Reviews. Check out my comic books, Big Baby and STARCRASHER at KINGCOMICS.CA. Today is episode 514. It's Joe Quesada Day, and we're taking a look at Ash issue number 4, dated July 1995. So, since the very beginning of the series, Joe Quesada has given us a beautiful wraparound cover. This issue is no exception. I think my favorite to date, as he was using a lot of negative space and kind of, lots of computer effects and stuff on those past issues. But on this one, there's a little bit more storytelling involved. We're reintroduced to, I think his name is the actor, right? Who's kind of like this, Joker type character is how I describe him for sure. Kind of a punk rock Joker before Heath Ledger. And, as great as the artwork is here, I think it's a great piece with, the massive figure of Ash in the foreground, the actor back there. The coloring is definitely eye-catching, but in all the wrong ways, I feel. And just these long stretches of orange going past Ash, I don't feel work. It works in the artwork and the negative space that Quesada has left. In black and white art, I'm sure this piece in black and white would look amazing, but these streaks of color are just so garish. And one of the problems I have most with the Ash series is the coloring. It's just something about it that, it works. Little bits of it here and there, little clever things I think work kind of well, like some of the musculature that gets done fully in color on these yellow stripes on specifically on Ash's design. But other than that, it's very garish. It's kind of the worst kind of stuff that the 90s has to offer coloring wise, but still overall a very good piece of illustration and artwork. So Joe Quesada, pencils and story, Jimmy Palmiotti, inks and story, Ruben Rude, colors, Chris Eliopoulos, letterer, and that's where we're going to end on credits. Just such a weird page too with this match and the color scheme. The 90s colors are just, intense. Kind of hard on the eye. Not that it's not legible, just kind of aggressive, I guess. And there's a few things I'll talk about real quick about the lettering as we go through the book, where I think some stuff that they're trying is working and is interesting, and in other areas it doesn't work at all. Again, reintroduced to the actor here, him watching in an old abandoned theater, the Scarface movie specifically. I'm very surprised that two Italian dudes would really be into Scarface. They literally, even like credit them with the copyright and stuff down here. Not sure that would actually protect you legally if someone were to sue you for this, but I don't think that ever happened. So we're reintroduced to that angel-like character in this great double-page splash, and here's somewhere where I feel the colors pull back a bit and give a bit more room to Joe Quesada to just use his illustrative powers to create that layering within the image, and all these wraps and stuff. They're just on so many multiple layers, background, foreground, middle ground, that it creates such a sense of depth. And smartly, that top part with the background, it really works. And then he throws in these storytelling beats down here. Just a great double-page splash composition. I really like what he's doing with his characters. Not quite a cape, I guess a robe, or his robes. I guess somewhat like a priest or something. The angel kind of theme that's going on there. I don't know. And just the origami like quality here that's very much like the McFarlane way of drawing cloth is very interesting. Very interesting that it actually kind of overlaps and is the focal point in a weird way of this panel, even though the hand here should be the focal point, which is Ash kind of falling through the cracks here. Just as much as I think this is pretty, you take it out, or you have a strand keep going off panel or something, and then you really make, first of all, you have the ability to make this shot much bigger and much clearer. Just a weird storytelling thing where I was like really just paying way more attention to the origami greatness of his robes here than the actual storytelling beat of Ash falling through this hole. But again, the colors I feel pull back on this page and give a lot of space to Joe Quesada to work that layering in, foreground, middle ground, background with all the kind of costume elements that he's got here. It's kind of like his ninja design, just really pushed to the extreme. And some great shots all the way throughout. I've said this before. This is basically Joe Quesada doing like an image comic, but he's still focusing on storytelling. So he's doing the big bombastic images in a clever way where you still got, your regular kind of more down-to-earth story beats all the way throughout, right? Not falling into that trap of the image guys, being shit on for not doing backgrounds, right? Still, working those backgrounds all the way throughout. Again, what makes this comic kind of just suck for me visually is the coloring. I just don't enjoy it. I feel like maybe this would be a comic that would benefit. It's on that glossy 90s paper. If this had been printed on newsprint, I feel like already that would just add so much to the overall feel and aesthetic of the book. Yeah, so basically all we're getting is a sequence. Of course, you know, this angel character seems to know stuff about Ash and Ash running after him, and that's, you know, kind of typical. There's not anything super original, you know, in as much as the writing goes for Ash. A lot of times he just, you know, anytime there's a fire, it seems, it's, you know, with a firefighter superhero, right, and he controls fire and stuff, you kind of have to have explosions and people in danger in explosions and fires. A pretty pivotal plot point pretty much every issue up to this point, or almost, because that's what's going on here again. This I thought was funny because he almost looks like Pitt as far as proportions go, right? There's so much silhouette work going on that you can mistake the two. I like when artists do this where they fill in the silhouette and then they use white medium on top, paint or splatter or something to kind of give it this. Usually you're trying to evoke something like, it's like that Marvel character Infinity, is it Infinity or the universe or something, you know, where literally it's a bunch of shadows with stars and planets in it, like space within. I hope I'm describing that properly, but kind of like what you're seeing here is the idea. So anytime I see this, you know, I don't feel like Quesada's trying to get across this idea of, you know, Ash's transcendence through space or anything. I think he's, you know, jumping into a fire here. So this is meant to be like a fiery kind of ashen kind of environment or something, but, you know, that's not quite what it evokes visually. And even though it looks cool, storytelling wise, it kind of doesn't make sense. And here's some more interesting, like if we're talking about layouts and storytelling, he's really not cheaping on it. You know, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, a good 8 panels here on what is really a pretty awesome action sequence all the way throughout, right? All the beats are pretty cool, well drawn. And on this page, he starts using those design elements again. The circle comes back, right, that we saw with the angel-like character at the beginning. And again, another page where 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you know, 9 panels, but interestingly arranged, right? But it doesn't go overboard. I don't know how to explain it. It's still very easy to read, pleasing to the eye, and still fairly traditional in like the reading direction stuff. He's not getting too confusing with the reading sense. Not quite sure where he's going with this B story, right? We get another page of it here. We've gotten one every issue, I think. And it's still that guy who got drunk and exploded earlier on, making his way somewhere. And I feel like these memories here are his, but, you know, I'm not quite sure. I mean, it looks like when the Americans dropped a bomb on Japan, or Nagasaki, Hiroshima, one or the other. That's what I'm getting right now. Maybe we'll find out more next issue, right? With the next bit of story from this guy here. But yeah, we're just getting little blips every issue, and it's kind of easy to forget about this guy, really. So here's a sequence where Ash starts to take shit from his boss because, you know, as they were getting into the thick of the fire, he somewhat disappeared, and he tries to explain to him that there was an angel and he fell through a hole and stuff. You know, the chief ain't buying it, you know, that kind of sequence here. Pretty fun though. We've got our Johnny Blaze wannabe, who's the kind of the character, the mysterious character who knows more than we do. And he goes in to interview these arsonist chicks. That's kind of an interesting idea here. Not sure where he's going to be going with that, but not so much more of that in this issue. This was fun to see. I talked about it last few reviews if this actually came to fruition, and it did. So the Jim Lee poster is in Ash issue number 4. So that I was glad to see that. It's not a piece of art I don't think I've ever seen before. I was curious, and I would have liked to have known who inked it, right? If Jim Lee did this all by himself, or if Scott Williams had some inking input on this. I would have liked to know that. Anyone knows, let me know in the comments. I feel like it could be Jim Lee inking himself. Just there's a little bit of slight roughness that I don't get from Scott Williams, but I could be wrong on there. Using the circle design again. And yeah, one of the most interesting aspects of this book, I think, visually for me, the great art from Joe Quesada, of course, but just, yeah, the visually inventive way that he breaks down the pages and designs them. I guess you could say there's a little bit of some McFarlane influence there, but it's done in a more less haphazard fashion than maybe McFarlane does it, and a little bit more controlled maybe when Joe Quesada is doing this kind of stuff. So back to the actor here, and again, like I said, it looks like kind of a punk rock Joker, and I liked his visual. We saw him in the first issue, and you know, the hint of him that we got there, I thought was interesting and kind of menacing, and I just kind of liked his design. And then to find out that basically that he's got a father here and he's kind of submissive to him, really right away, before he's really done anything, takes away from the character and his perceived kind of power and menace and threat, I guess, against Ash. Just kind of gets undercut and undermined here by the fact that his father is, you know, he's very subservient to his father. Here's so I wanted to say earlier, talked about lettering and I forgot, so I'll go back real quick, but I'll talk about the lettering here right away. This father character, this is you know, whiffs of the Ultimate Warrior comic book, which I reviewed. You can check in the annals of BBR, and just no understanding of color theory, where these bits of lettering, green or blue, kind of blue-green over orange, really hard to read, really not fun to read, to have to kind of, you know, really get in there and pay attention, as opposed to something like this with, you know, black on white contrast is really the ideal for that. Yeah, it really strains the eye to have to read this stuff, so that's kind of a lettering faux pas. And then this one here, I thought was interesting that they've got a different kind of font here for this guy here, and a different kind of line on the phylactery on the word balloon going around there, right? Not by any means is this original to Ash and Joe Quesada, but I found that this kind of works with the kind of character that he's got there really well. The actual lettering, it evokes what his voice kind of sounds like. Yeah, some more of this stuff. So I don't know what his deal is too. Either he kind of watches movies or is obsessed with movies and quotes them and quotes actors and stuff, as he is the actor, right? All right, another you know, firefighting mission for Ash's unit, of course. That's basically the gist of the whole story. Like I said, the conceit of Ash, and I could see maybe how that got long in the tooth pretty quickly. But so the actor basically walks up to Ash and something happens, the transformation. You're expecting him obviously to turn into, well, Ashley to turn into Ash, but then no, somehow the actor has triggered his transformation back to his weird kind of burnt up form that we first met in issue 1. So it seems like, you know, they're establishing this idea that he can really go through 3 transitions: normal Ashley, you know, super powered buff Ash superhero character, and then this, you know, burnt up figure from issue 1 when he was caught in the fire. So kind of interesting, I gotta say. You know, that's maybe an interesting aspect of Ash that I'm curious to see where that's going to go, or if that's going to go anywhere. Pretty cool depiction of it too, the shot here and the angle and stuff. Really doesn't look fun to be that burnt up, let's be honest. All right, any ads to talk about? Anything interesting? Nothing really. Oh, that's Jimmy Palmiotti with Frank Frazetta. That's cool. I guess not. Then that is the end of the review for Ash issue number 4, guys. If you're still watching and you are subscribed, thank you so much. I appreciate you sticking around and all your support. If you're watching but you're not subscribed, please do so below. It only takes a quick second for you, and it really helps the channel out, helps us grow, and it helps us get out there to other people who are into comic books just like we are. Check out my comic books, Big Baby and STARCRASHER, on KINGCOMICS.CA. And once again, thanks everyone out there for watching, and have an awesome day.
Like, subscribe, like, subscribe.
King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13, 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents STARCRASHER one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KingComics.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.